ENJ's Epic Quest. ENJ's Epic Quest. ENJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest.
Hey everybody, welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. My name is Justin, and joining alongside me, you interrupted me.
I did. And I said my real name too. I got too excited.
Yeah, it's Haley.
The nerve. Now they're all going to come after me.
You said it first.
They're all going to come after me now. Maybe my name is just HC. It's like H-H-A-C-H. That's Atch. A-Y-C-H-S-E-Y. H-C.
H-V-A-C.
My name is H-C. H-C. No. All right, anyways, it's me. Let's go.
Dren/Derek is here too. With my
I like that you're still Dren. You've been Dren this whole time, and that's not even a name.
That was what I had to work with.
You had the whole book. You could have been Lorky. I mean, you are Lorky. No, so you could have been Lorky.
I know, but I needed something with the first letter of my name for my nickname for the intro.
You could have been Dorky.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess before we get started in today's episode, we'd like to take a moment to thank and recognize Silverstone's Books. Check out their website at silverstonesbooks.com, where they have a huge selection of fantasy, sci-fi, and horror books with the option of many signed copies at pretty reasonable prices. The store carries a large number of indie authors, so help us help them in supporting those self-published authors. Also, they've been gracious enough to give us a promo code for 10% off your next order. That code is DJ Quest, so check out their site, pick up a book, and save some cash.
Cash money.
Also, I started a hashtag for them, and I hope it takes off. I know Kevin's used it a couple times, but hashtag Shop Silverstones. So if you buy something, use that. I don't know, like, it just popped into my head because he put out a tweet saying he dropped like price of shipping from $8 to $5 or something like that. So I retweeted it and just that popped into my head. So I used it and pretty sure he liked it. And so it'd be kind of cool if that could gain some traction.
Yeah, or just do the hashtag if you retweet or something too. Just get it trending.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah.
Patrons, in order of subscription, we have Jan the Picker, Luciana Etrigan, Ryan the Topological, Damien the Rock of Faces, Nate Fiddle Me This, Shield Anvil Dylan, Calvin He Who Witnessed, Livia the Malazan Potato, and Aaron Mott Irregular. So thank you one and all for being a part of our journey. We love having you here.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, I know that this will be, I don't even know, a couple of weeks before this gets pushed out, but thank you all for your patience while I work through some things.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Very, very humble of you once again, HC.
I've been waiting.
She's got to get them all out now because this is the last episode.
It's it's the last episode of the book, but definitely not the last we're going to see of you, HC. So I know
In your nightmares.
we'll have you. Sure, we'll have you pop in and out of Malazan. Justin, do you want to? Should we just talk about what we're kind of planning here, quick?
Sure, absolutely.
So HC, I mean, we've invited you, but we're planning I guess a big live stream is what we're going to shoot for of the last chapter of Memories of Ice, which is like fucking 80 or 90 pages long or something like that. It's going to be kind of our typical format, and I don't know how long it's going to take.
That'll be a 7-hour episode.
I bet it'll go longer than that, because we've got a number of guests lined up to come in and kind of go through it with us. And HC, I mean, obviously we haven't got to the end of the book yet. We're just assuming Lady Envy is going to be in there, probably sprinkled throughout. So we'll just kind of have to see what that lines up with, and hopefully you can, pop in and out for some of it here and there. We'll have to find a date yet. We haven't gotten that far, but I don't know. We've got 6 or 7 other people lined up to help us out with this, and I am going to email Mr. Erickson and see if he would jump in for a bit as well.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of envisioning we'll have like time slots, rough estimates anyways, where people jump in and out and that type of thing. But we got a lot to figure out yet. We're not there yet. We'll have to obviously read the chapter. That one's going to take some planning, that'll probably take a while for us to type up all our summaries for something that big and to get everything lined up. But we hope Lady Envy's a part of it and hope to have you there for it.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Should be a good time. It's just going to be a lot.
We should probably reserve that for like a wrap-up episode.
Reserve what? Reserve what for wrap-up?
Like when we finish that sub book, right? Like our sub book wrap-ups. It would technically be the sub book Memories of Ice wrap-up, but also the end of the book wrap-up. So then that way we don't have a 9-hour episode.
I don't know that I'm following exactly what you mean.
I'm saying split it up. Do what we normally do for the end, and there's also an epilogue too. And then the next episode after that, do like a wrap up with all of our guests.
You just do that with everybody?
Yeah, one big wrap up party.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Makes my life easier, and it gives us more content.
Well, I mean, if it's alive, then you won't have to edit anything. It's just alive.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
You don't want to be on for 9 hours.
Right. I still have to post it on like Anchor and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. So yes, well, it's live on YouTube. I still have to.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But in any case, I mean, we are in the pretty early beginning stages of planning something anyways.
Sounds awesome.
And yeah, it very well could change what that looks like. But also at the end of this, just transitioning away from HC's gray hairs, we've got a list of questions for you that we are going to get answers from you. So
Hello.
That should be fun.
I'm excited.
We'll see if any more pop in between now and then. So, and I guess I've got one more thing here before we get started here. It always feels like a big accomplishment when Justin and I finish a book. It's fun. It's exciting. This one, for me, I don't know how you feel, Justin, but it definitely feels a little bit different. There's definitely some sadness just because personally, I've had a ton of fun having you on for these episodes, HC. I definitely did not expect to build such a good friendship with you. I didn't know what this was going to look like, when we reached out to see if you would do this with us. So it's definitely blew any expectations that I had out of the water. So I just want to say thank you for doing this with us, effectively donating your time to just chat with us and kind of nerd out while we do our thing. I've loved it. It's been a lot of fun. So thank you. Just thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for your time. Thank you for this book that I really did enjoy.
Thank y'all. This was a lot of fun. And I don't even remember exactly like how we all kind of met, because I feel like it was a year ago, wasn't it, that we started talking on Twitter? And because I don't remember how it all happened, but y'all were just hey.
We invited you on for our second episode, and I think it was from there, like everything just clicked. And I don't remember who said it, but one of us offered for you to come back again and again.
Oh, yeah, because it was supposed to just kind of be like a one-off thing. And then I was like, I'll do every episode if you want. And you're like, hey, okay. Because it turned out to be really fun. You got we did a lot of background information and behind the scenes stuff. It was really fun.
Yeah.
It surprises me to this day. Like I could not imagine a better book for what we are doing. Like our little voice acting thing. I don't know that how well it, like, to me, it just feels like it really works. And I don't know that necessarily that would be the case with a different book. And maybe it would.
It wouldn't.
But yeah, I think, the stars definitely just align. Yeah. So it's eternally, I'm grateful. And I know, it might be a little bit before we get to book 2, but I think Justin feels the same way. I think we'd like to do the same thing with book 2, but it might be a little bit before we get to that point, so we can at least get through this Malazan book and then probably partway into the next one. It is a lot to juggle 2 books to go back and forth, but I know I've got the hook in me to want to do this for your next book. Just give us a little time, but I think we'll get there.
Well, I am ready and available when y'all are. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I've been thinking, which y'all can let me know, because you guys both have collector's books too. You probably saw my Twitter post. I in like this biggest, I don't want to say writing slump, because I know what I need to write. I just can't figure out how things need to play out. And I've talked to you guys about this. So I'm reworking book 1 and adding some exposition and stuff, so it flows a little better. Oh, I did talk to you about this, I think, Derek, because you were like, what? Why? It's great. So I don't know if it oversees a lot today, but everybody's been telling me to do it, and they all are kind of excited about it. But I'm just nervous because I don't want to piss people off, by changing stuff. But so I might wind up adding a little bit of stuff to book 2. So it might be good that you guys are waiting.
I would say if it's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. I mean, I've definitely enjoyed it as it is. I didn't have a problem with the pacing or anything like that.
You know how many times I've wanted to just reach out to Derek and be like, hey, we should re-record Gardens of the Moon, because that season was fucking atrocious.
But, we talked about this before.
Yeah. It's not genuine anymore, though, because we've already been spoiled in 3 books afterwards.
Right.
So, it's a timepiece. It's a photograph of where you were at that point in time.
Yeah, and I mean, I get that, and that's what kind of holding me back, but also this is the first book in a 6-book series, and if it doesn't get the attention that I think it deserves, and no one's going to make it to the end of the series if they can't get into the first 2 books because of the pacing and stuff like that, because it changes dramatically with book 2.5, the novella. It's like a completely different author wrote it, because I kind of figured out what I wanted and how I wanted to sound. So I kind of am wondering if I change it up a little bit, not really change anything important, so you don't have to get the new version, but just adding a little bit of exposition to slow down the pace a little and explain stuff a little better. I think it might attract more readers, and it might be better in the long run for my sales if I can get the first book to kind of match the rest of the series. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it. Well,
so
for sure,
kind of where I'm at.
We're here if you need to bounce things off of us.
All right, let's talk book 4.
It might be a little premature since we're just finishing book 1.
Whatever theories, we'll just go with them. I'm lost at this point.
All right.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We'll talk about cuts later. I'm just kidding.
Just scrap it all, redo it. That's my suggestion.
No, I definitely think that it's definitely plausible. I think it just all that's missing is if you look at it like a video, right? It's just missing some few transitions.
Yeah. And that's what I figured out whenever I kept writing and learning, because I thought book 1 was slow paced, and I had a beta reader. I only had one at the time because I did not want anybody to read it, because you don't want anybody to take it, And now that I have 4 books out, it's kind of like anybody that wants it can read it. I don't care. but I only had one beta reader, and he told me that nobody likes filler, nobody likes this and that. So I was kind of being influenced by someone that I thought knew more about books and readers than I did. And it turns out it's not really the voice that I wanted, you know? I'm just not happy with it. I'm really insecure, and y'all know that. I always try to defend myself with my book. So I know a lot more, and I kind of wrote Curse of the Fallen like a TV show. Like every chapter was a different episode when it's supposed to all just flow like a movie in one continuous thing. So I kind of want it to be more like that instead of just like quick, quick, quick. They need to like sit for a second and breathe and kind of slow down. We'll see how it goes. I may never do it. Who knows?
Well, we're here. We're here if you need us.
All right. So am I going to read the chapters? Hear my lovely Southern accent?
And if you'd like to.
This is the last one of the book. Yeah, let's do it up here.
Let's switch around.
Yeah, Justin and I were talking while you were restarting your computer, so you can read it, and then we'll just take our characters.
Perfect. All right. Chapter 37. Reflection of Misery. I'll read it all like that. This is Cloud's memory. How do you know?
We were forced to survive the worst moments of our lives. First was Lorik, when he was sentenced to death. Then my execution. And your home being burned? This was the night we were told she wouldn't survive. The night we all thought everything was lost.
Her heart dropped, and she turned her attention to the home. She gazed at the woman on the bed. The people inside wept as they spoke of her loss. Avallac'h seethed. His arms hardened, and his fists were tight as he peered through the trees.
Cloud has to be nearby. We have to find him.
All of our memories had some kind of fight or altercation. Did he go somewhere that night?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Nir's jaw dropped. She ignored Lorik as he asked her to translate, and instead stepped to Avallac'h's side. He was motionless in his grief, and he was crying. When she touched his shoulder, he sniffed and turned away. He quickly rubbed his eyes and shook his head. Hey.
Come on, we need to find him.
You know this place?
Yes, his home isn't far from here.
Do you think that's where he'll be?
No.
Without further explanation, Avallac'h turned to the left and raced into the forest. Nir and Lorik followed close behind, struggling to keep up with his fast pace.
Do you think we'll find him?
I don't know.
He must have been here for a while. He's had days ahead of us, yeah? What's he still doing in these caves? Cloud! That was my desperate shout there, guys.
And with you doing both of them, like was that Avallac'h or was it Lorik?
That was Avallac'h.
Just Lorik. Cloud! The dense forest became sparse and covered in moss. They leapt over fallen logs and winding streams. Nir called for Avallac'h to hold up. He climbed skillfully up a tall hillside, leaving the others behind. As he reached the top, he stood alone and placed his hands on his hips. The rumbling sound of a waterfall grew louder as Nir and Lorik came to his side at the edge of a small lake. Nir panted with exhaustion. The forest was empty and calm, with not a trace of civilization in sight. Avallac'h looked around and followed an overgrown trail around the edge of the water. The others followed after him. With another glance around, his eyes widened and he sprang forward. He rushed to the hillside and crouched beside a figure slouched against the wall. His hands moved through Cloud when he attempted to shake his shoulders. He shouted Cloud's name in a raw and desperate voice. Nir stepped closer, unable to believe that he had found him. His lips were parted and his eyes held no life. In his hand was a vial with the remnants of a black potion inside. Nir attempted to grab it, but her hands moved through it with no resistance. She knelt and closed her eyes. Breathing deeply, she focused on her energy and raised her hand toward Cloud. Tingling magic pricked through her as energy swelled inside, and she concentrated on the empty vial. Pushing through the pain, tendrils of unseen magic wove through the air, connecting with the vial and entwining their energies. She felt the coolness of its glass and could sense the potion's moisture on her skin, when suddenly it was in her grasp. She took several deep breaths and passed the vial to Avallac'h. What is this? A tear fell from Avallac'h's open eyes, and he dropped the vial to the ground and covered his face. His shoulders shook as he struggled to contain his emotions. Nir probed further to see what the vial was. He didn't respond. losing himself in his misery. Nier focused on Cloud and noticed his parted lips were dripping with the same potion in the vial. She placed her hands on his chest. Her fingers dipped through him as magic swirled around her palms. Energy gathered in her chest. It burned and ached as it moved through her arms and into her hands. She grunted and wheezed as she gave her life force to save him. Come on. His chest puffed as he took a slow breath, and his eyes slowly fluttered open. Avallac'h yanked Nier back as her body shriveled and shook. Lorik pulled her into his arms and shoved the end of a vial into her mouth. As it ran dry, he tossed it aside.
Come on, Neri. That's all we've got left.
She lightly nodded, and Lorik released a relieved sigh.
The vines. This better be over soon. All this for a damned cave?
His attention moved to Cloud as he shuffled before pulling himself into a sitting position. He leaned forward and grabbed his forehead with a groan.
Avallac'h.
Oh my God. He sounds like he's undead or something.
I don't remember. I'm just trying to be weak. That's all.
With heavy breaths, Avallac'h pulled Cloud into a tight embrace. Cloud nodded with a half-hearted smile.
It's about time you showed up.
Avallac'h scoffed a laugh and then turned away. His eyes shifted to Nier as she lay in Lorik's arms, motionless. Her eyes were hardly open as Cloud carefully took her hand and thanked her. She weakly nodded and closed her eyes before collapsing into Lorik's arms. The others shared a glance and then turned as the forest slowly faded into a dark, forbidding cave. Enormous stone walls created a labyrinth around them. Pale blue light lingered above and faded into bright orange as it drifted into the distance.
Where are we? What can we do? She won't survive another attack.
Lorik carefully laid Nier onto the ground and stepped away. He treaded carefully to the end of the hall, focused on the pale glow above. He pointed above and struggled to speak their language.
Prophecy? Pale moonlight leads into the fray. We have to make it to the orange light.
Avallac'h and Cloud shared a perplexed glance. Frustrated, Lorik stomped to Nier's side and struggled to lift her into his arms. Avallac'h casually approached his side and touched his shoulder. Avallac'h guessed that Lorik wanted him to carry Nier. Lorik explained the best he could that the blue light was bad. Hooked on phonics over here. God.
Learning is hard.
I know. I don't know what was up with those sentences. That's not how I talk. They're written so strangely. Avallac'h lifted Nier from the ground and looked at Lorik in confusion. Lorik turned away with a disgruntled huff.
Trust me.
Their eyes met, and Avallac'h subtly nodded in agreement. Lorik took one last glance at Nier before marching to the end of the hall and leading them in the direction of the orange light. The orange glow lingered in the distance as they got closer. That doesn't make any sense. The group came to a stop as Lorik stood at the intersection of 3 halls. He gazed above and was disheartened to find the light was still pale blue.
We've been walking for hours. How the fuck aren't we any closer?
Avallac'h sighed before stepping into a shadow at the base of a wall and setting Nier onto the floor. She lay motionless with her eyes closed, though her coloring had slowly returned. Cloud told Lorik that they should rest here. Lorik started to argue, but as his eyes fixed on Nier, he decided against it. Lorik could tell that Nier was getting better. Avallac'h leaned against the opposite wall and closed his eyes. Cloud knelt in the center of the group and created a barrier with his last bit of potion. He then got comfortable beside Avallac'h and smacked his hands clean.
I needed you. We could have made it through this together.
We weren't together because of your actions, not mine. She would have died saving you, even after you left her behind. We nearly died countless times because you weren't there.
You're right. I never meant to forego my mortality. But you know how
Morality.
much... Shit.
First off, Avallac'h sounds like a prissy little girl.
You're right.
I read this, and I was pissy about it, so that's what I'm going to convey.
We nearly died countless times because you weren't there.
Well, are you going to be happy about that? No, like I'm putting some emotion into it here.
Hey, you go for it. I'll make fun of it the
I'm
whole way.
going
Let's go.
Sorry, Justin.
No, it's okay. You're right. I never meant to forego my morality. But you know how much we need Azale. If she dies, this world will fall to ruins. Arguing over it is futile. We're together now. The end should be near.
Was that your philosophy when Azale decided to throw her life away?
Yes.
You were there when she took the vow. You could have talked her out of it.
You don't think I tried?
No, I think your devotion to her has clouded your judgment. It's made you cynical and heartless.
And yours hasn't? You chose a human over me, over your own sister.
I've never turned my back on those who needed me. You were the one who ran, not me.
Because Azale needs us more than she does. Don't you understand that?
I understand that you just as easily could turn your back on me if it meant fulfilling what you believe is fate.
I'm this way because I have to be. Someone has to be. You can play the vigilante and take revenge on those who have already caused harm, or you can sacrifice your honor and stop it from happening in the first place. I chose to stop it.
That memory? Was it true? Did you really try to? Were you going to end your life?
It was the night they told us she wouldn't make it. I went out to be alone. You know what will happen if we lose her, Avalok? There is no hope. There is nothing without her. It's the reason I am the way that I am now. It is my devotion or clouded judgment. It's truth. We need her. The world needs her.
So you just decided to opt out? Just end it without a word to me or anyone else?
No, I just thought the pain of losing her was too much. I spent my life protecting her, loving her. I couldn't watch her die, but I never went through with it. I couldn't. This place, it wouldn't allow me to stop myself. It fucking forced me to.
Avalok turned away bitterly. Disgust and anger pulled his face into a scowl. He stared upward, fighting against his tears.
I'm sorry, Breneve.
I've always regretted not being there. Had I the choice, you know I would have been by her side.
He paused and wiped his face on his dirty sleeve.
I can't lose you. When this is over, just remember that.
This place, it's far worse than I imagined.
There are worse things than illusions and monsters.
You're right. This is only the beginning.
Right.
You don't think she has anything to do with this, do you?
Avalok turned to him with wide, furious eyes. He glanced at Nier before turning away. Cloud studied his expression, noticing that his anger was disturbed with confusion and guilt. Avalok never answered, and as the conversation ended, silence filled the lonesome corridors. As the other slowly fell into a restless sleep, Avalok remained awake, staring deep into the darkness that surrounded them, his eyes fixed on Nier, who lay unconscious across from him. Time had replenished her strength, and she looked healthier now that the fullness of her face had returned. His face twisted with sadness as he considered what Cloud asked. Firelight danced across his skin as his gaze shifted to the flames. The sound of creaking bones and clicking tongues broke the silence, and he carefully gripped his swords as his eyes darted throughout the cave, searching for the intruder. The distant noise became clearer and was getting closer. Avalok smacked Cloud's leg before standing with his swords in hand. Cloud quickly retrieved his weapon and stood at Avalok's side.
They're everywhere.
We can't sit here and wait for an ambush. We need to move.
They turned around when a thunderous quake shook the walls. Lorik was jolted from his slumber, while Nier lay motionless on the floor. He looked around in a panic before shaking her shoulders. She struggled to open her eyes, and with an exhausted sigh, she pushed herself up on weak arms.
Come on, Nier. Here's your sword.
Oh, what's happening? Where are we?
We're still in the caves. Something's coming.
Another powerful jolt caused Lorik to tumble aside, and Nier struggled to stay alert. The overlapping footsteps grew closer. Lorik stepped back and tripped over a pile of old bones, causing a loud clack that echoed through the corridors. He froze as the cave fell deathly silent, and not a footstep or click moved through the cold, dark air. Cloud gripped his weapon while Avallac'h stood before Nier. They were paralyzed with fear. Suddenly, chaos erupted when hundreds of footsteps raced through the labyrinth. Overlapping growls and the sound of clawed feet came from every direction all at once. Lorik stepped back when several dozen glowing-eyed sentry rushed through the hall. Cloud spun his weapon and plunged it through the barrier. Cold air crept over them as a transparent shelter disappeared, and Cloud teleported through the horde. Several creatures fell as he moved invisibly through the sentry. Avallac'h rushed to Cloud's side, and they stood with their backs together. With his eyes ahead, Avallac'h reached back and collected the dagger that Cloud silently apported, I don't know how to say that word, from a sentry. As more sentry approached, the duo fought them back to back. Nier stood and hugged the wall with Lorik. While he jabbed his dagger through the stomach of a nearby sentry, Nier gathered what little energy she had and released a pulse. The creatures growled and hissed as they flipped backward across the ground. Lorik quickly caught Nier when she stumbled back from exhaustion. Do I do that?
Oi!
I didn't know the plan. He shouted to the Eve. Cloud glanced at them, and his eyes set on Nier, who was struggling to remain conscious. A thunderous footstep quaked the ground behind, and Lorik turned to face a giant beast that had stood at the end of the hall. Lorik leapt back as the creature turned upward and released a powerful, metallic-sounding scream. Cloud and Avallac'h held their position as the sentry fled back into the labyrinth, retreating in fear from the monster ahead. When the large creature lifted his arm high into the air and swung it near, Avallac'h rushed forward and tackled her aside. Cloud appeared in front of the creature and struck his spear through its chest. Cloud teleported onto its back and lifted his spear, ready to strike through the back of its neck, when the beast grabbed his leg and tossed him aside. He was flung through the air before landing hard atop the ground and rolling down the hall. Avallac'h leapt forward, and the giant creature slammed its fist into the ground before him. He fell back as the stone cracked beneath a powerful hit. Avallac'h ran up its arm, swung himself around its back, and slashed its eyes. As the creature shook and fought, Avallac'h hung on for dear life. His sword sliced deep into the beast's winged arm, and it thrashed in anger, attempting to fling him aside. Blood poured from its body as it stomped its feet, creating tremors that shook the cave. Avallac'h dropped his sword as he clutched the creature with both hands. Nier glanced through the cave, unable to find Lorik in the shadows, and noticed that Cloud was still lying on the ground nearby. She turned to the screaming beast as it fought to remove Avallac'h from its back. Her eyes shifted to the ground where purple light emanated from his sword. Racing forward, she ducked beneath the angry swipe of its talons, grabbed the sword, and teleported above the beast's head. She fell from the air and struck the sword downward through the base of its skull. The ear-shattering screams and thunderous stomps fell silent as the creature collapsed to the ground. Dust plumed into the air when the cave rattled and quaked. Avallac'h released his grip and tumbled to the ground. Nier climbed down and peered through the corridors, panicking as her fear set in. She stumbled forward, still weak from using her magic. Where's Lorik? Avallac'h exhaled several hard breaths, and his eyes set on a slumped figure across the hall, and Nier fearfully followed his gaze. A breathless gasp escaped her lungs when she spotted Lorik lying against the wall. A trail of blood dripped from his head and trailed down the stone. No! She rushed to his side and touched his face. Her heart stopped when she noticed blood dripping from his ears. Nier called to Lorik in panic. She tapped his face and called his name, pleading for him to wake. Her cries echoed loudly through the dark halls. With her hands on his chest, she pushed magic into his body. She could feel his life slipping as his energy faded. Though her lungs struggled to expand and her heart shriveled, she continued fighting. Avallac'h pulled her back. Her body had become frail and her hair had lost its sheen as she pushed her life into him. We can't leave him. He's all that I have. Avallac'h looked at Lorik, who lay motionless against the wall. They turned when a light scuffle echoed nearby. Avallac'h stiffened as a shadow slowly rose from the ground, and Cloud's silhouette staggered forward. Avallac'h's shoulders fell as he released a deep sigh. Blood dripped from Cloud's face from a deep cut that sliced his forehead. He leaned against the wall with a groan and clutched his head.
Come on. Help her.
He guided Nier to Cloud's side and draped her arm around his shoulders and told her that he's got Lorik. Cloud asked where they were going. Avalok carefully lifted Lorik from the ground. Curly hair painted his arm in red.
Now, Michelle.
Near stepped forward and stumbled to her knees with Cloud. He winced while pushing against the wall to lift them to their feet. As they regained their stance, he held tighter to her waist and followed closely behind Avalok as they walked through the silent halls.
Yay!
Yay! Look at me go!
Yay!
How did that feel, HC?
No, I'm exhausted.
Halfway there.
Oh, and I talk a lot, and I'm exhausted. Oh.
There's a few words there for sure.
Yeah, it going back to what we talked about prior to starting the episode, I definitely think this chapter could be broken up into two.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like add just a little bit more to the Cloud section and like them talking in the cave, kind of really expand on those like emotions, right? Like those are some big feels right there, like
I was
Cloud
thinking the same thing when I was just reading it. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, Cloud is like literally like it's almost like he's awestruck is probably not the right term, but like he's like holy fuck, like I almost died. Like this is not how it happened. Like I would not let myself do it. And here he is like I couldn't, like I had no way of doing it. I didn't want to, but like I kept going, and it's so painfully heart-wrenching, and like I wish that it was expanded a little bit more.
No, I thought the exact same thing. When I was reading, I was like, this is going really fast, and we're just going emotion, emotion, emotion. It's like 4 different emotions in like one conversation.
Well, right. And like there's no like coming down from like the argument between Avalok and Cloud, right? Like there's a lot of things that need to be resolved there. And I feel like all of that would fit comfortably in another chapter. In just one chapter.
Yeah, I agree. No, I completely agree.
For me, I thought it really worked for me just because I got a sense of just urgency and, panic, all these different things. You don't always have that time to, resolve things. So you go from this argument into a fight. And I'm not saying you're wrong, Justin, but for me, it worked really well, I thought.
I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't reread the chapter. I'm just rereading the summaries. But I don't think you wrote anything, right? You just kind of took my manuscript, Justin, right? And you just kind of like pieced it together, or did you actually write out the...
No, since you've been sending me them, it's so like, honestly, the way Lorik talks, writing all that out is just like a tongue twister for my fingers. And so like that's not irritating, but it's just really hard to overcome. It takes me a lot longer than if I can just go and like, okay, what is important that needs to be expressed here, right? And like, obviously it's all of like the build-up action and the like subtle movements, the surrounding, those types of things are what like I find important in like the actual description. But when it comes to the dialogue, it's so much easier to be like tab, Avalok, : type of expression, and then just center everything, like I would if I was writing like a script, So that is, I guess, the reason why I do it. But yes, it is essentially your manuscript. It's not everything. I like do my best to kind of take out like the fluff, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what I thought. I didn't think you wrote anything out anymore. I thought you just kind of did what you said, since I sent it to you to make it easier, because I know you have a lot going on. So it could just be me reading the summary, because that obviously is much faster than it would be with a chapter. But I do think I kind of did have the idea, and I'm really bad with knowing how to find a balance, because my idea was kind of what Derek said. It's just like, we're in a rush. We're in a cave. We are, we don't have time to just sit here. But at the same time, like, it's a story. I need to kind of at least give a little bit of time to sit there. Otherwise, we're just going to be rushing through the whole thing,
I mean, I could see it if they didn't stop and like rest, know what I mean? But like at that point, it's a spot where you can expand on these things, right? Like,
yeah, because it's just a conversation.
Right. Before the Sentry come, it's all downtime there. Like, yes, they're in a rush, but like at the same time, you can't really just rush into the next thing without really resolving the tension,
Yeah, it's finding the balance of, yeah, we're in a rush, yeah, we're ready to get out of here, but Nier is injured, and they just found Cloud, and they do have time to sit. So even if it takes half of a chapter to have a conversation, that conversation realistically could only last like half an hour, and then they have to start leaving. So it's not like they're sitting there for days talking.
Right. Well, and it just needs to be as subtle as like, like let's say this was chapter 37 and 38 was like when the sentry come, like
Yeah.
conversation, wind down the tension, end chapter, beginning of the chapter. It's just like, fuck, we just sat down. Like, can I get a minute to rest? I could totally see Lork saying something like that because he's kind of a gripey character. So, it doesn't need to be this like elaborate, 3 or 4 paragraph thing where you're explaining why they're in a rush. It could just be these like subtle little nuancy things.
Exactly. I think it's a balance between what both of you said. Like, keep in mind that we don't need to take forever, but we still need downtime. That's how you get to know the characters, is through the downtime. And I don't have a lot of that in my book, so but that's funny. I was thinking that when I was reading it earlier. I was like, this is a lot of emotion and a lot of different conversations thrown into one conversation.
Right. Yeah, because you go from it's an action sandwich, right? Like you have a bunch of action in the beginning, and then you have the argument and the just really depressing thought of like Cloud was forced to kill himself, right? And then you've got the sentry, and then what happens to Lork. So it's like action sandwich, and it's just like whoa. I need a minute.
You don't have time to like reel over anything because it's moving so fast. You're like, okay, well, I have all these emotions and I don't even know how I feel because they're jumbled up because they're happening so fast. I can't even figure out how I feel about it.
Right. And that doesn't mean that like it's bad by any shape of the means. It's just one of those things where like that has been a reoccurring theme throughout this podcast about this book is that you, the author, have felt like in retrospect it went really quick.
Yep. That's what I mean. That's why I've been considering kind of just not changing anything. Nothing's going to change. All the dialogue is going to stay the same. I'm not taking anything out. I might add some things like what you just said and expand on stuff, but nothing important would be added. It's just slowing things down so you can sit with people. And so, because there's been times throughout the book where Derek, he's like, oh, well, I didn't understand that. And it's because I explained it so quickly, or I didn't really explain it well enough because things are moving so fast. And it's like, if I would have just slowed down, let you sit with it, you would remember and understand what I'm trying to tell you instead of having to focus on every word because they go so fast. You can't really comprehend everything.
Right. Well, and I know that like it was, I wouldn't call it like an insecurity, but like it was a worry that you didn't want to info dump, you didn't want to explain, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with going about that route, but I think that there's ways of painting the picture without painting the picture.
Yep. And I've learned that a lot with my novella and with book 3 because I still don't like info dumps. I still try not to do them. I like to explain things through the story and through the experiences of the characters. I mean, there's still filler you can add. There's still downtime you can take without being info dumpy. So right. I think I found a good balance with that. I just have to integrate it into my first 2 books.
And you can also explain other things without having that person explain it. Like a good thing that comes up is like a lot of Nier's past, right? Like maybe a few paragraphs where like Gil or somebody else is kind of like talking about something that maybe have happened and this is the reasons why. They're just sitting at a tavern or drinking a beer. Who knows?
Basically what you're saying is that you're going to be my beta reader when I redo the book. Thank you.
Sure, we can definitely do that. But then we have to redo this whole book.
Hey! You know what? We're just going to take the new podcast and insert it into this one, just like I'm doing with the book. All the new pieces just go in.
Right. Yeah. Just, retroactively put them in. No one will ever know. No one will ever know. Just millions of hours of Justin to edit. That's fine.
Oh, yeah. For like 20 views.
Yeah.
And I'll have a few more gray hairs, I'm sure, by then.
Well, save them. We'll show them off.
I sent you a picture of it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I did see, yeah.
That's funny.
It's so long. Let me see. I'll show you how long it is.
Yeah, it's just longer than your MacBook.
Y'all ready for this? Here we go. Starts here.
All right. Well, Lorik, right? He's got some.
Oh yeah. Let's stop criticizing my chapter and get into the good stuff.
You know, I don't remember at what point I told you I thought Lorik was going to die, but it was fairly early-ish, I think, in the book. And then this happened, and I'm like, oh no, I might be right. And it might just be that like I've got to voice him, but I've really grown attached to Lorik. So then like this hit hard because I was like so worried. I'm like, oh my God. And then at the end of the chapter, I don't have an answer yet. So I'm like, okay, well, because I didn't know how these last two chapters were going to go. Just like, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to happen. I'm like, oh my God. So I was super nervous. Once I read that in chapter 37 going into chapter 38, because I really didn't know what to expect.
Well, you have to remember too, though, that we didn't know Lorik's fate whenever they approached the high priest, or when the high priest kidnapped them, basically. So, you know what's gonna happen.
Remind
Even
me.
though y'all know it.
Sorry, remind me. What was that part again? Like the foreshadowing to Lorik's death? Sorry, I misunderstood that whole.
No, how he's saying how he, at the end of this chapter, he's really worried about Lorik, and he's thinking that what he predicted in the beginning of the book may actually come to happen. And I was just saying this has happened before, so maybe it won't happen again. But I mean, they've been foreshadowing the whole time.
Well, I don't know. I guess if there was foreshadowing for what happens, I didn't really pick up on it. Just like when we relive his memory, I guess I didn't think of that as foreshadowing or anything. That was just something that he went through, that he experienced.
No, not that. That's not foreshadowing. And I wouldn't really call it foreshadowing, as more as like hinting, I guess, maybe in a way. Because throughout the whole book, they talk about how Lorik cannot survive the trials of blood. They tell her, do not bring him. She does not want to bring him. He convinces her that he can go because he's been on every adventure with her, and if he dies, then he wants to be by her side, and blah blah blah. Like, they mention him dying in these trials because he's way too weak to survive them multiple times.
Sure. But I mean, even at the same time, I mean, I didn't feel like that was a certainty. He's got Near, he's got,
But if she's unconscious the entire time because she's used up all of her magic, like, she's the only one who can save anybody.
That's true. They're all screwed.
Right. They're all fucked. Like,
well, no, Cloud's there now. He can do something. He's
but all he could do is a port. He's a different type of magic user.
So, I mean, it in a way it's foreshadowing because it makes, if he does perish, it won't just come out of nowhere. Like, we know he probably doesn't have a good chance of it. Like, it's already told to you plenty of times. Like, if this happens, like, we know it's possible that it could happen. So I don't really know if that's foreshadowing, but
you should. What would be really, really, really fucking cool, now that we've like read this part, is all the way back in the first chapter when he gets like tied up and bound, is if shadows his actual death. You know what I mean? Like, someone goes to like bonk him over the head, or like they've got like Freddy Krueger knives or something like that. Something like that, and like, Near intercepts.
Oh yeah, that would be really cool.
It would be. I mean, it would be really weird, but you totally could throw something like that in. Or like, in one of these down moments, there's like a game that they play, and they have like these little wooden carvings of each other, and they're just playing this whatever made up game. And one of them like falls off the table and it ends up being Lorik and it breaks, or you know what I mean? Just like these like really like cool little like tidbitty things.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like you don't really notice it, but then you go back and read, you're like, hey.
Right.
His skull got cracked open. Like, what?
Yep.
Interesting. All right, so definitely my beta reader for sure.
Huh?
You're definitely my beta reader for sure.
All right. Will do.
You twisted his arm.
Forced.
Well, I guess, what do you say? Should we push open the doors to Namashell here?
Let's do it. I like how y'all had way more dialogue than me the whole time. It was just you guys arguing with each other.
It was a lot of fun to like do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you felt, Jess, but like, I liked it a lot. I just enjoy doing this. It's fun, and Yeah, I want to put that emotion into it because it just feels more authentic and real than just monotone reading it.
Yeah.
I feel like you got to have it.
No, yeah, I agree.
It's
Reading 800 paragraphs, it's just like my eyes cross and y'all's eyes cross, and people are skipping the video. Just not talking. All right, ready? Chapter 38: Blood of the First. Cloud marked their path, allowing them to more easily navigate the long and empty hallways. He scratched an X onto the wall and adjusted Nir's weight on his shoulders as she tried to stay conscious. Avaloq walked next to Nir as she clung to Cloud's shoulder. Her eyes, once so vibrant and full of life, were now listless and dull. Dark circles ringed her eyes, and she had not spoken since the attack. Her eyes remained focused on Lorik as Avaloq carried him.
This is it? Nah, Michelle.
How do we get inside?
I don't know. I need to shit.
I knew you were going to say that.
I knew that was coming.
I can see it. Gotta dig a hole. Go down the hall.
I'm gonna leave it.
Find a nice skull. They sat down and Avaloq set Lorik down.
It works. It works.
They sat down and Avaloq set Lorik down. I don't know, this makes me laugh.
I don't get it.
Eric, the author.
She's imagining as they're all sitting down, Cloud's just digging his hole, burying his little poopers,
Oh, Lord.
Cloud's taking a dump. Got it.
Oh, my God. She checked his pulse and pushed her magic into him. Her magic was weak and her body frail, but she would do anything to try to save him. Avaloq pushed against the door that stood in their way.
It won't open.
It could be an illusion.
Avaloq took out the glass eye from his pack and examined his surroundings. He knelt on the ground.
Here, on the floor.
What is it?
Cloud took the glass eye, examining the runes.
Can you read it?
No, this is ancient First Blood text. I don't understand many of the symbols.
They both looked sadly at Nir, who was trying to wake up Lorik. Reluctantly, Avaloq asked,
Nir, we could use your help.
A tear slid down her cheek as she touched Lorik's face. He isn't going to make it.
Maybe he will.
Nir took the glass eye and turned to the door. She instantly recognized what she saw. This was part of my vision in the cave. Oh, her voice is empty of emotion. I just gave it a lot of emotion, didn't I? Try again. This was part of my vision in the cave. Her voice was empty of any emotion. Avaloq helped her stand, and she read the runes on the ground. Into this chamber, if energy you seek, blood of the first holds the key. She looked at Avaloq and gave him the eye back and went back to Lorik's side, spending what little energy she had on him, trying to keep him alive.
Blood of the first. It could be literal.
First blood? You think I can open the door?
Your blood opened the Illiton. It wouldn't hurt to try.
You're saying that after all of this, a first blood was needed to open the doors all the way?
This is a first blood test. It would make sense that they wouldn't allow others to enter their secret chambers.
Avaloq nodded and took out his knife, kneeling over the rune. He cut himself and squeezed the blood onto the stone. The invisible inscriptions glowed briefly. Rock shifted in the wall behind him, and he turned with his weapon drawn. The door opened and showered them all in purple moonlight. Cloud cautiously peeked inside the door. He looked back at Avaloq and stepped inside. Avaloq took Lorik into his arms and told Nir to get a move on. Hey. They stepped into the hidden chamber of Namashel, and she was surprised by the smell of fresh air. As she stepped into the cave, she felt safe. The group was led to a lake, where a tree sat on an island in the middle of the lake. Avaloq and Cloud were distracted by the beauty this place held, while Nir was only concerned with Lorik. She sat him next to a tree and pushed more of her remaining energy into him.
This is it. The last ingredient needed for Azael's potion is on that island.
Do you think the legends are true? Can this place really heal them?
It has to.
Avalok looked back at Nier while she was quietly talking to Lorik.
He won't make it. It's been hours since the attack, and he hasn't opened his eyes.
The water should heal him. We need to get him on the island.
They gathered around Nier to gather Lorik and get him into the water. Lorik, hey.
Nier.
Hey, look at me. I'll help you, all right? We're going home. His head fell to the side, and his eyes closed once more. She gave a last desperate attempt to push her magic into him.
Nier, you aren't strong enough. Come on. We can help him.
Have a look. She was begging and pleading for someone, anyone, to take away her pain. She couldn't lose him. He was too good to deserve such a fate. She should have told him to stay behind, to not enter these trials, but she let him anyway, and now he might die. The only person she loved in the world could be taken from her, the last piece of her home and family. Her heart was now empty and her soul torn. She cried as Avalok held her.
Let's get him across the lake. The water may have the energy to heal him.
It's my fault. I let him come here. I knew it was too dangerous. I'll never forgive myself.
Let's just get him across the lake. The waters could save him.
She looked at Lorik once again, and she couldn't imagine a life without him. Whatever hell she was in, he was always there to encourage her, help her. He was her only reason to keep going. Cloud touched Avalok's shoulder, and a moment later, the three of them were... What? And a moment later, the three of them were water?
In the water? Whoops.
All right, I know who my beta reader won't be.
Fair.
They were in the water? Is that what it means? Is that what you tried to say?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Cloud touched Avalok's shoulder, and a moment later, the three of them were in the water, before disappearing again and showing up on the island. That's not what happens. That's why I'm confused.
Oh, I guess that's how I interpreted it.
No,
Maybe I was probably confused too.
Yeah, Cloud teleports across the water. Avalok and Nier and Lorik swim. So you said the three of them were in the water before disappearing. Okay, sorry. It just confused me for a second because I'm like, that's not what happened. Sorry. That's my fault.
Sorry.
I can't read this out loud and like comprehend what I'm trying to say. It's definitely not your fault. Okay. Sorry. Cloud touched Avalok's shoulder, and a moment later, he was in the water, before disappearing again and showing up on the island. Then he began working on his potion. Avalok stepped into the lake with Nier, and the water turned black as they moved deeper. Cuts and gashes closed on their bodies as the water healed and washed them. It's healing us. Nier's voice was excited, but her heart dropped when she looked at Lorik. His wounds weren't healing. It isn't working. Why isn't it working? Avalok dipped him deeper into the water. Even still, he did not heal. His eyes never opened. Nier swam even though she didn't want to. She was now alone. He was taken from her. She was hollow. They brought Lorik out of the water and placed him by the tree. Nier said it can heal him, but Avalok sadly told her no, it wouldn't. His injuries were too severe. Nier touched Lorik's face. It had grown colder and paler while he only drew shallow breaths. I should have just lived without my magic. I should have stopped him from coming along. I knew it was too dangerous. This is my fault. I don't want this anymore. She dropped the Arun to the ground and cried. Avalok took it and put it back in her hands.
He wants this for you.
No, he doesn't. He tried talking me out of it.
He wants you to have peace. You have a chance to make a difference.
She looked at the tree and then at Lorik. He was so still. It was unusual of him to be so quiet. She grabbed his hand. I'm going to save you. Don't die on me, okay? Please. I can't do this without you. I love you, Lorik. Please, just hold on a little longer. She placed a kiss on his forehead, to which he gave no reaction. She took the Arun to the water's edge, placed it underwater, and focused her energy into it. If she was going to use the Arun for anything, it would be to save Lorik's life. She could live with the curse. but she couldn't live without him. She would heal him back to perfect health. A bright light emerged from the Arun as it levitated into the air. She felt warm energy swirl within her. With her eyes closed, she focused on its power. And just as quickly as it came, it was torn away, and Nier fell into the river, and cold filled her body. Avalok pulled her from the water, asking what she was doing, asking Cloud what he was doing, while Cloud covered the energy back into the Arun and put the box into his pocket.
What are you doing?
We don't know if the potion will save her, but this will.
Cloud tossed the vial to Nier as she climbed onto the bank. Avalok's jaw dropped and rage filled his eyes.
We can't take this from her.
The potion will rid her curse.
We don't know that.
It will, Pravene. They will both have what they need. I know this is wrong. I know I shouldn't take this from her. But if we lose Azael, we lose everything. You must understand, this is the only way.
While Avalok and Cloud talked, Nier crawled to Lorik's side. He opened his eyes in a panic, but settled when he found Nier, and she smiled at him. Lorik?
Where are they? I can't find them.
Lorik?
I don't want to go.
You aren't going anywhere. Lorik?
No, I'm not ready. I can't.
His voice faded away as a breath escaped his lips, and his eyes were dull. Nier lost control, screaming, yelling, pushing her energy into his body, but it was cold. Avalok pulled her away as she grew more frail and lifeless.
You can't. You'll die.
She pushed him away weakly, collapsing to the ground. She dug her fingers into the dirt. Every breath she drew was a reminder of everything she had lost. Fuck fate. Fuck the divines, and fuck everything. She didn't need it. Years of enduring torture had led her to this moment. All these feelings of loss and anger would never fade. While she looked at Lorik, she lamented on this deep hell she now lived in. She stood, sending shockwaves of energy into the sky. Avalok rolled in the grass while Cloud clutched his spear as magic pushed him back. Her magic grew stronger and the cave trembled. Tears changed direction on her cheeks, water that dripped from the ceiling now suspended in the air. Deep breaths pulled into her lungs while the grass at her feet died, replaced with ash and cracked dirt. All of the energy in the land surrounding her drew into Nier. Cloud took a black crystal out of his pocket and started a chant while Avalok crawled his way to Nier, his energy being taken from him, feeding Nier. He called out to her, but all the sound in the cave deafened his voice. He was inches away from grabbing Nier and ending her madness when Cloud grabbed him and they disappeared. Nier was still taken with rage. Energy came in from everywhere. She watched as rocks crashed around her. Her eyes once again fell to Lorik and his lifeless eyes. Her madness drifted and faded. The suspended water fell like rain. She looked at the vial at her feet. She wanted to break it and forget it, but she knew she couldn't. She had to do this for everyone that was taken from her. She couldn't turn back now. She had to do this. She wouldn't allow them to die in vain. The order would be destroyed, and those who betrayed her would suffer. She drank the potion, and black particles rose from her lips as the curse was expelled from her body. Nier fell to the ground, but pushed herself back to her feet, free from the restraints that held her soul, free from the curse that haunted her every move. Looking around, she saw she was alone. Avalok was gone. He wasn't there to comfort her or care. Sadness boiled into rage. Her eyes opened, and for a brief moment, black replaced the teal, consuming them in darkness.
That's a hell of a way to end this book.
Goddamn. Okay, can we talk about Cloud, please? Like, what the fuck?
Okay, but for real, would you not do that for the person you're in love with?
I don't know. I mean, this whole time I got the sense that he was friend zoned. You know, like it was a weird relationship for me. It was like a carrot on a string.
Friend zoned by Nier?
Yeah. Are you talking about Cloud or Lorik?
I'm talking about Cloud.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Like,
Okay, well, go.
We were talking about Cloud. You just said let's talk about Cloud.
Okay, all right. Say what you're gonna say. My bad.
Okay, start over. Cloud, you would not do what he did if it was someone you were in love with or loved.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm assuming this potion was something that he had just achieved because he got the last ingredient, right? But
Mhm.
like, where's the logic in him knowing that it would destroy her curse?
The potion he was making.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, he just knew like this potion can dispel curses. So he was making it because there was no other option. But whenever he first met Nier, she slipped up and she mentioned the Arun, and Cloud kind of like side-eyed her, like, you know about the Arun? And she kind of had to be like, oh, blah, 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 no, blah, blah, you know.
Yeah, I remember
So
that.
he's kind of suspicious of it to begin with because he knows that the only for sure absolute way to get rid of a curse is with the Arun. Like there's nothing else more powerful when it comes to dispelling curses. So the potion that he has, he just got the recipe from someone. I think Azael gave it to him.
So he swapped plan B for plan A.
Yeah. Basically. Like he kind of got lucky that Nier had it. And whenever he realized she had it, because he had no idea she had it this whole time until she pulled it out and was going to use it. And he was like, well, shit, like, why am I going to risk not being able to cure Azael when I know this can cure her? And I don't really care about Nier. I care about Azael. So I'm going to save her. This will take care of Nier. Like, she's not that important.
I mean, yeah, I understand it. It just felt really, really gross. You know? Like,
a lot of people have very mixed feelings on Cloud.
So, okay, I was a little confused on this.
Okay.
So he made the potion, and he's going to give that to Azael. And he did something with the Arun for Nier that she used to like cure herself. Okay,
so Nier's curse is probably not as powerful, and it's probably not as life-threatening as Azael's, because if Azael does not get, like, if they don't ever cure her curse, she's going to die. Like, she will not survive it. It's going to kill her, and it's a very powerful curse put on by a very powerful person. And Nier's curse just lets the order track her, so she can live with it. Like, it's not something that's dire that needs such powerful magic. Nier opens the Arun, and the magic comes out. Cloud sees it. He realizes that she has it, and he takes it and puts it back into the box, because the Arun is like a box. And he puts that magic that's glowing and floating out of it, he kind of like traps it back inside and takes the Arun from her. And then he kind of like puts it in his pocket. Huh?
After the mark was dispelled.
Yeah, the waters dispelled the mark.
Yep.
So that's how she was able to open it and it didn't scream and the mark didn't come. Did that answer your question? I feel like you were confused about why he took it and what he was doing, but maybe not.
Yeah, that was kind of my confusion. So, no, that did help. Thank you.
Yeah, so he just knows, for one, he thinks that Azael is absolutely needed for the fate of the world. He thinks that she's just extremely important. He knows that the curse that is put on her is very powerful and she needs to be saved. And he even says, we don't know if this potion I'm making will even work. It's just the only option we had until Nier decided to show up with a goddamn Arun that she didn't tell nobody about. So he's like, this will take care of her. And I don't even care if it doesn't. She'll be fine. We are using this and we're saving Azael and everything will be fine, basically.
Gotcha.
It just, in retrospective, just makes it feel disingenuous from Cloud's standpoint. Like he was just tagging along to tag along, you know, using her, so to speak. But, you know, it's interesting, though, that like he would move on without them, you know, if he was, I guess never mind. That makes sense, too. Yeah. All right. I got it. I was just like, my train of thought is just like, if he was planning to use the Arun this whole time, then why did he move on without them?
Well, he didn't know she had it. He literally knew she had it when she pulled it out at the very end of the book. That's when he realized she had it. He had no idea. Because if he knew, he would have just taken it.
He was just suspecting. He was skeptical as to whether she was right. Okay, got it.
Yeah, because she mentioned it, and Laura was like, shut up. And she was like, oh. And he just kind of like suspicious, but he wasn't going to like, you know, frisk her for it. So
sure.
And I mean, he kind of was using Nier this whole time, and she was using him because he said in the beginning, we're not friends. If you fall behind, I'm not going to help you. I'm here to do my mission, and you can come because I'm going to need your help, but I'm not focused on you. So we can help each other through this, but if you fall, you're going to fall, and I'm going to keep going.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I get it. Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. Are you still confused?
Thank you.
No, I'm good.
No, I feel better about it. I feel better now.
And I mean, Cloud, some people don't like that he didn't have any, I guess, growth, but he's a full grown freaking man. Okay. People don't always have to have arcs. All right. He was the same from the very beginning. At the very beginning, when you first meet him, he's like, hey, I'm doing this. Like I just explained to you guys. He's like, I'm on a path and I'm on a mission and I'm completing this mission with or without you. You can follow me if you want, but I'm on my own mission.
Well, characters don't always need to grow or degress within a book,
Yeah.
It's
Agreed.
a story.
Agreed.
But maybe there are some like hard feelings about it, just in his like inner monologue or not. Be like, fuck that bitch, I don't care.
You learn a lot more about Cloud and his feelings on everything in The Banished. It goes much more into depth about both of him and Avalok and why they were with Nier, what they think of her, what they think of what Cloud just did. Like you go through that whole emotional thing with them throughout The Banished. It's really good.
Oh, so The Banished is like the glue between the first and the second?
The Banished happens during the events of book 2.
Gotcha. All right, cool.
So, that being said, Avalok and Cloud are not in book 2. So don't expect them. People expect them and they never show up. There's a whole new cast of characters that come in to play.
Well,
Are they mentioned
I know you've
a
said
little
that
bit?
multiple times.
Are they what?
Are they like mentioned a little bit?
Oh yeah, they're
Okay,
mentioned, and
yeah.
Nier obviously mentions it. She's very distraught about this whole thing, obviously, so it affects her a lot. And the characters that are introduced have ties to Avalok and Cloud. They know them.
Gotcha. She's got the blood wrath.
Oh. I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd be pretty pissed. Like if I were in Nier's like, I'd be fucking wrecked.
And not even that. Like, I get why Cloud did what he did. I get it. And honestly, I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing if it was my husband or someone that I cared about that much. But Nier literally like almost sacrificed her life to save him like 2 hours ago.
Yep. I'd have left that little prick in his forced suicide.
She's like, you know what? We're going back in time. I'm leaving you there.
Yep, you fucking asshole. Yep, absolutely. But then again, like she was gonna just use it all on reviving Lorik. So like
She would have wasted it, Well, Cloud didn't know that though. But I mean, I guess he could kind of figure she probably would. Like,
right. Yeah, because again, Nier is impulsive, right? Like he's observed some things, he seems to be a lot more calculative.
Yeah.
Observational and very direct in what he's going to do. So.
Yeah. So you have to think, save someone who's apparently very important to the world or save a very useless, weak bard that you don't even really like.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Those are your options.
One little piece of feedback, if you are to go through this again, like the caveman interpretations were really weird.
Caveman?
Yeah, like where like without Nier to translate, Lorik trying to communicate with the the AV or the Eve. It just, I don't know, it felt very caveman-y. Like like no light bad, stuff like that. So
well, yeah, but you can't say like a caveman because he can't speak their language, so he's got to say.
I know, but maybe like just have him with like a little pocket translator book or something that
he just brought that into the trials of blood and it's
or he picks it up sometime after he meets Avalok or Cloud. Like.
Well, how can he? Okay, I guess he could read it if it's a pocket translator.
Right,
but someone would have to write it.
A little book.
Okay, but someone would have to write this book, and the Eve and the humans do not get along, so they do not speak each other's languages. Come on.
Maybe when they stop in Porsder, Gil's like, "Hey, there's this thing that we found, and it, there's no history to it, but it'll help you. You know,
How about this instead? Like right before it happens, Nier can be like, just in case, this is how you say this in Avish, and then it just happens he needs to say it.
There you go. That works.
Simple solutions.
Yeah, there you go. Simple solutions.
Pocket dictionaries.
Yeah, like a little pocket Bible, you know, those just little guys.
It survived everything. He had to enchant it so it wouldn't get destroyed in all this water and fire and
or maybe like Nier makes a magical app in a book and it just translates.
You know what? She's just gonna create a whole mechanical device that just when he talks, it just translates it to Avish.
There you go. Some
it's
type
like a little
of
duck call thing.
Right. Yeah. One of those like megaphone things.
Yeah. It just speaks in English. Oh God.
Well, Derek, I guess what questions do we have for HC from our audience here?
Well, I've got some points I wanted to go through here.
Oh
first.
shit, my bad.
You're good, man. So I didn't think that this word Illitan had come up before. It had not, correct?
Right. Nope. That is the first time it's called an Illitron. And I think it's mentioned again in the Banish, but you actually learn what it is in book 3.
Oh, did I misspell it?
Yeah, there's an R after the T, but it's fine.
Oh, sorry. Gotcha.
My bad. It's okay. Yeah, you actually like experience what it is in book 3.
Okay. Something to look forward to.
Yep. Just adding little pieces to all the puzzle everywhere.
So my next thing here, Avalok asks if the legends are true. Can this place really heal them? He's meaning Azael and Nier, like cure them both of their curses.
Yes, and saying healed really isn't right. I keep saying cure of your curse. It's not really a cure. Like I don't really know if curses can be cured. They can be dispelled. But yeah, that's what he means. Like, can this make them whole again? Can this release whatever, you know? So yeah, they made it here, and he's just kind of like in disbelief. Like, can this really do what we thought? You know, to come here, is this really real? Like, please don't tell me we did all this for nothing.
Right.
Is what he was saying.
Next thing here, Nier is thinking about Lorik and how he's the last piece of her home and her family. And, to me, it just really highlighted how important Lorik was to her. And it's something that we've heard kind of throughout the book, but, with him dying, it's just, to me, it hit home even more, just like that line, that part of your writing. Like I've known all along, but when you lose somebody, I think it's just more impactful.
Yeah. Just going through all those, like the process of grief.
Yeah. So, I guess it wasn't so much a question as an observation there.
Yeah.
Nier thinking that it was unusual of Lorik to be so quiet. And all I could think of, like, man, it must be really hard for somebody to just come to cope and come to terms with life when you just watched your best friend die right in front of you.
Yeah, that sentence, when it's just, I think it's not written in the way that you wrote it. I don't think, maybe it is, but it's just like, she's coming to realize, like, he's quiet. He's never this quiet. It's like she's trying to wrap her mind around it and she can't. It's really heavy for me, that little sentence, I guess. It's just really kind of hard.
It was super heavy. And even like in this chapter, when I first read it, I kept going back and forth. I'm like, okay, he's going to make it. I'm like, oh man, okay, now he's not going to make it. Maybe he will. And then, like his final words just really broke my heart because it just felt like so real. It wasn't like, oh, Nier, I love you too. It was, it was panic. I mean, he's dying. He's not in a good state of mind. And, he died scared. And it hurt me, HC. I didn't cry reading this, but it was like, I'm like, fuck, like, man, this sucks. Like, I really liked Lorik. I liked being him, playing him, voicing him, and now he's dead, and it hurts. And just like the way he went out, it hurt a lot. So emotional damage there for sure. But it was like, I don't want to say satisfying, because that's not it, but it just like it felt like that's what should happen.
It was like leading up to that, like, yeah. And somebody if they all made it out of the caves, I feel like it would have been a little too like fairy tale-ish, you know? Like they all make it out and they just go on their way and she's free now, like yay, you know.
Right. This it's just like it would have felt, I guess, kind of cheap to me if he did survive. And I wanted him to. Like I didn't want him to die, but I would have been kind of mad if he did, because it just like the stakes are there for her, and then to have him survive, it would have just kind of lessened that, I think.
It takes oh sorry.
In my opinion, I mean, he needed to die. I don't know what's going to happen next in book 2, but I would think like that's going to be a big motivator for her going forward.
Yeah, and to me, I went back and forth with what I wanted, because I wanted the ending to be very impactful, and I wanted it to be tragic, and I wanted it to be memorable in a way that kind of sticks with you after you read it. And because those are my favorite types of endings, even though most of the time those are more tragic endings, are the ones that you just kind of keep thinking about and they kind of bother you, and you can't really emotionally recover very easily from them. And I kept kind of going back and forth with it, thinking, who should die or what should happen, because it doesn't necessarily need to be a death. Loric's journey's kind of over. Like, after book 1, he can't really keep following Nier around. And honestly, he would get very annoying if he was in all 6 books. Let's just be real. That dialogue would kill me. Also, it's a really good indicator of what's to come for Nier in a way, because she's already had such a tragic life. Like, she feels like he is the last thing that she has that cares about her. He's the last person. He's the last anything. And now he's gone. And he was, brutally, very tragically taken from her. So it really sets the stage for what could come from the series. Instead of him just surviving and then going on their way, now it's kind of keeping in line with the darkness of this whole tragic, dark tale that is Nier's life. So it just kind of seemed like it fit.
I definitely, like I said, I don't want to say that I liked it, but I appreciated it for what it was, because it felt right, for what I had read in this book.
Yeah. Even though it sucks.
It was well done.
Thank you. I cried whenever it happened. And in The Banished, there is a memorial service. And it took me days to write it because I was bawling my eyes out. It is sad. It's so sad. So just be warned. It's going to take y'all forever to get there because you're going to take forever to read the book. But it's okay. Just be warned. It's very sad. It's so good, though.
Well, those are all the points that I had. My last one here we kind of talked about already, so I'll skip that one. I guess give me a second here. I'll get the other document up with our questions that we received. I don't think we got any more from Twitter this time or anything. I don't know if you got any more from Instagram or wherever.
I didn't get any more.
Well, that's fine. I think we got a pretty good and a number of questions here. So, Justin, do you have this? You should have this document too, I think. I shared it to you. I don't know, do we want to alternate questions, or, I can go through whatever we want to do.
By the way, I have no idea what these questions are, so we'll see how this goes. I'm not prepared. Sure. I usually prepare for this stuff.
All right. Yeah, I could take it away if you want.
You want to take the first one?
Yeah. Alex Luco asks, are there any...
Alex, that's my boo.
Are there any corners of the world you haven't explored on page yet, but want/plan to later?
Are there any places that have not been explored or that I want to write about?
Yeah.
So in my series, I am going to take you to almost every part of the continent. And that was my goal whenever I started writing, is I didn't want to just be stuck in one place. I feel like that would be boring. So I don't know how I could even write if we're all just stuck in one place. So they start off in Vleland and they go up to Lynn. In book 2, they're in Aragoth, which is the desert. In books 3 and 4, they are in the forest. And 5 and 6, they are in Vleland and Laeroth, which is the human country. So they go all over. The place I'm kind of eager, and I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. The place I'm kind of eager to explore more of is Vleland, which is where we visited at the beginning of Curse of the Fallen. There's a lot of mystery to them because it has the Nyx, which are like vampires in a way. They're not vampires, but they kind of are. So just kind of seeing how they live. I still haven't decided if I want to include Nyx or if I just want to leave them as this mysterious sort of race. No, what are you saying? No for?
No,
Explain
you
them.
you should elaborate more on that.
Well, they
should
do
have
go back to
them.
Glowland, so
Just saying.
I. Oh, what?
I was gonna say maybe there's some nicks out there that want to explore.
Yeah, I have played around with the idea a lot. I don't really know what to do with them, and I don't really know like a lot about them yet. I still have to figure out what I want them to be and how I want them to be introduced into the story if they are. My most anticipated place to visit was Nindira. I love elves. I love the forest. I love all of that. So that's my favorite place in all the books. But I've already written about it. But I've already written there, so like it's not my anticipated place anymore. But it was my
Gotcha.
most anticipated.
Do the Eve live in like little like Ewok tree huts?
No.
No.
Whenever I first started my series, it was a trilogy, and the elves lived in tree houses. But I was like, no, that feels a little too cliche. So they kind of live like Vikings almost. And the Cleotil, which are like, I guess the bad ones, the Nasir leads the Cleotil. And he's the one that cursed Azale. They are very savage and they live very rugged, and they're like super savage Vikings, basically, is how they kind of live. And the Rill, which is like Avalok, he is from like Clan Rill. So they're kind of more, they live in nature. Like their villages and their towns are kind of integrated with the trees and with nature and stuff. But they live in houses and stuff like that. But it's not as civilized as humanity. And it's a Avatar forest with the glowing stuff. Oh, I love it. Oh.
Maybe you could have the Nasir recruit some Nicks in like a campaign of Eve versus humans.
Yeah, I mean that's a good idea. We'll just have to see.
It could be a campaign for pain.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm kind of eager. I've thought about with Ayla's backstory. She's introduced in book 2. I was thinking of going to different parts of the world that you don't visit in the main series, so that you can actually get to the whole continent if you read the novellas. So the Dwarven mines and the Drellid mines, and the Isles of Erison, which is where like the siren mermaid people live. I don't think we're really going to visit that in the main series, so I may integrate that into hers because I think that'd be really cool.
Oh, that would be cool.
That way we can get all of it, because I didn't create all this world to not explore it. We're going to do some exploring.
Fair. Fair. Are we ready for the next question?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
All right. This comes from Nature's Klepto. I don't know if you know who that is. I don't know. Must be Instagram.
I do. He won't be listening to this. I don't think he watches. Yes.
Why would he ask a question if he's not going to listen? That seems odd. But anyways, he asked, what is your favorite area / country in the book?
Oh, Nindira. I already answered that question. The Elven Forests.
Yeah, I guess the very short answer there. Damien asks, 1, he likes the names in Curse of the Fallen and is wondering how you come up with the names for your characters. Are there any rules or naming conventions that you follow when naming people, whether specifically or in a series / story, to keep them based in the world or just in general?
Is Damien a patron?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Damien. I tried going the cool route of like looking up meanings, kind of like in Harry Potter, where it's like Sirius Black is a constellation, and this name means that. If you put like the 2 words together, it means like Black Hole Sun or something. Black Hole Sun. That's a freaking name of a song. Anyways, freaking Audio Slave. That is Audio Slave, right? I'm thinking
Soundgarden.
Soundgarden. I'm thinking Audio Slave. I get those songs mixed up.
It's the same singer, so you're not wrong.
Oh, okay. Forget, is it Chris Cornell? Do I
Chris Cornell. Yep.
Okay. Anyways, Um, but no, not really. I go to like fantasy name generator, or I will sometimes look up like different names or words in Latin or Norwegian and just kind of like play around with what sounds cool, but they don't really actually mean anything. I just try to make them sound regional to the world.
Have you considered or heard of the coffee method?
Maybe. What is that?
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about,
Do you
Justin.
drink coffee? Okay, so do you go to like a Starbucks or a Dunn Brothers or Caribou?
I mean, I don't go inside, but
You
I
order
them
coffee
there.
from these places. Well,
Yes.
what you got to do is you need to go inside, and you know how they
Oh,
write your name on the thing. Well, you just give them a name and see how they spell it, right? And then you
yeah.
come up with a name based on how they interpreted whatever
Yeah.
name you gave them, right?
Oh my God.
Like if you were to write Avalock, right? It would be funny how they would spell it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should do that. I will say some of my names came from other sources. Avalok comes from Witcher 3. Nier comes from Death Note. Ayla comes from Vikings. Cloud comes from Final Fantasy VII. And so, I took a lot of names that I like and I just sort of used them and I stole them.
Stole them.
Stole them. But yeah. Loric, it kind of sounded like lyric. So that's how I got that one.
I think that works good for a bard. That's cool.
Yeah, Lork.
Loric. Yeah, so not really. I just kind of like fool around with it. And usually I spend way too long trying to think of names. So I just put placeholders and then I'll go back and then I just kind of like fill in the blanks.
Sure.
Gotcha. Damien's got this 2 more questions. I'll take the second one here, but he asks, how many drafts per book? Do you revise first drafts before letting anyone else read them? Do you work on different projects between those drafts or just focus on one thing at a time?
My brain cannot focus on one thing at a time. So I don't write more than one book chronologically. So if I'm working on book 3, I'm not going to be working on book 4 at the same time. I'm just going to be working on that book, but I might do other projects that are outside of the Fallen Light series. That's because I get bored and I can't just write one story. I have to do multiple ones. As far as writing drafts, I kind of do it in a weird way where I sort of fix the draft as I write it. So by the time the book is completely finished, it's completely finished. And I just have beta readers read it. I fix whatever they say, and then I send it to an editor. Because I am the type of person where if I write out a full first draft, I am not going to rewrite it. I'm gonna lose interest. I'm not gonna care. I just would not want to do that. So I did it with my first book, and I spent 10 years rewriting all of those drafts. So I have an alpha reader. Her name is Anne, and she's awesome. She reads my books as I write them, chapter at a time. So I'll send her a chapter when I'm done with it, and then I'll be writing the next one. She sends it back. I fix it, keep going, and that's kind of how the process works. If I get stuck, it'll take me a few days or weeks to send her the next chapter, but I try to fix everything so it just flows until the end. There's not really drafts. It morphs from first to second to third to final as I write it. I think he asked something else in that question, didn't he? Or maybe not. Do I write more than one draft?
I think you got it.
I think that pretty much covered all the parts to that question. Yeah.
Okay.
His last question here is, which part of the book did you enjoy writing the most?
In Curse of the Fallen, I would imagine. Which part did I enjoy writing the most? What? It's Paige?
Mange.
Oh.
You enjoyed writing Mange.
I just ruined that whole thing. The whole interaction. I'm sorry. Mange was definitely one of my favorite parts. I think the Trials of Blood was my favorite. It was really, really fun. And I tried going so far out of like my creative zone or comfort zone to make it as creative, but also as realistic and authentic to the story as possible. I don't know. I had a lot of fun writing the Trials. It was so much fun just figuring out all these different layers and all these different ways of testing the characters that isn't just fights was a big challenge, but I think it turned out really great. Obviously, I wrote it.
All right, we'll move on here. Jan has 7 questions.
Yawn!
His first one: why, Lorik? Why?
7 questions. Why? 7 questions. We should have gotten Jan on so I could yell at him for asking so many questions. I'm just kidding. I mean, I think we kind of explained that when in the discussion, but I will let you know that I was not happy about it. And if I could have saved him, I would have. But the story kind of demanded for him to die. It's like we talked about earlier. It was more authentic. It felt justified, and the story felt like it needed it. So that's a big reason. But prepare yourself for the Banished, Jan. You'll be asking me why many, many times after you read that part.
His second question here was, will we get the pleasure of a scene with Cloud getting the shit kicked out of him?
Yes.
Ooh.
You do, and it is brutal.
Is that in the Banished?
I mean, I don't really want to spoil when it is, so I'm not going to say. But I will say that if or when Nier and Cloud see each other again, it's very brutal. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
Okay. All right, then. Fair enough.
Now you got to keep reading all my books to figure out when and if that happens.
Jan's third question here: will the village of Mange get its own romantasy series? Mange, mushrooms, and magic?
I love these questions. That's so funny. I'm writing a romantasy version of my books, and people freaking love them. Like, they freaking love them. I should probably really dedicate myself to that and just send it to a publishing house because I'm gonna be rich. They're really good. So I might just have them live in Mange. There you go. That's a good idea.
Mange needs to come up in every book.
It really does. I wish I tried. I am trying to figure out a way to bring it back. At least maybe in the last book so we can have something fun,
I mean, again, it's just, it doesn't need to take place in Mange. It's just a couple of characters that are maybe traveling through and people are like, oh my God, they're so strange. They're from Mange. Or something like that, man, they're just naked, walking around, PDAing all over the place.
Oh my God, just loving the horses.
Right. Just tripping balls everywhere they go.
Just leaving flower petals in their wake.
Yeah. They probably fart flower petals.
Probably. That's funny.
Next question. Guessing we haven't seen the last of the High Priest.
Oh no. High Priest is one of the main villains. I hope that's not all that we see of him. He was in 1 chapter. So no, by the end, there are 4 antagonists. He is one of them.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I'm getting stuck on. I have 4 antagonists. What am I going to do with these people? How do I resolve all these conflicts in a good way? So it's extremely complex, people. Don't do this for your first book. It's it's a lot. And I'm doing it by myself. No one can help me because I'm so far into my series. It's hard to get help because people who have made it this far are invested. They don't want spoilers. And anyone not this far won't be able to help because they don't know what's going on. So it's very complex, but I'm excited. But yes, you will see more of him.
All right.
How much more? I won't say, but you will. Maybe.
All right. Jan's... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I said maybe, that's all.
Oh, okay. Jan is wondering if Nier will turn all evil and Darth Vader-y now.
Darth Vader.
I guess it fits, maybe. Because her real name's Veda, right? So she's Darth Veda.
I mean, really cool. I guess she'll just have to read and find out.
Damn. All right.
I kind of thought that might be the answer we would get. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
I kind of thought that might be the answer we get.
I'm not gonna tell you if she turns dark or turns good. Why would I tell you that? You gotta read, figure it out, see which path she decides to take. She might. At the end of book 1, it's kind of hinting that she's got some darkness in her, but that she may not turn dark just because she's angry now doesn't mean she's going to always be. Read and find out.
His next question is would the potion that Cloud gave her have saved Lorik if she had given it to him in time?
No, not Lorik. I thought you were going to ask if it was going to save Azale. No, the potion was to dispel curses, and Lorik was not cursed. He was dead. So It wouldn't have done anything. He wouldn't have been able to swallow it. He's dead. So, if she gave it to him in time, no, because it wasn't that type of potion. I don't know if this is going to be asked, but it would not have saved Azale. So Cloud actually wound up doing the right thing in the end. He just, obviously wouldn't know that for sure. But, people have asked me that, and the answer is no. The Arun is the only thing that would have saved Azale.
Gotcha. I think that was a good question, though.
Yeah, these are really good questions. All of them have been.
Jan's last question. Will there be a new Eve versus humans war?
A new one? Is there an old one?
That is what he asked.
Jan, I need you here to elaborate on this. I mean, just read and find out. I will let you know that we do go to the Elven country. There is a major battle in the forest, and the forest arc is stretched out over 2 books. So take with that what you will. Just read and find out.
All right. Fair enough. Next comment here comes from an unknown person asking, and I feel like I already know the answer to this, but which setting / land would you most want to live in from your world?
Okay, you think I'm gonna say Mange?
No, I knew you were gonna say Nindira.
No. Say where?
Nindira.
Oh yeah, Mange. I'd want to visit, and I would want to visit often. But I don't want to live in the forest. And once you experience the forest, you'll understand. It's amazing. And the Elven forest has a lot of the magical trees. And elves, I would want to be an elf in the Elven forest. I mean, I would live there as a human, but elves are much more in tune with nature, and they are much more in tune or sensitive, I guess, to magical energy. And the magical energy of Nindira kind of connects them all. So it kind of like the trees and stuff can kind of like guide them places, and it can kind of help them in situations. Like if they are dying, it can like guide them to a place that will help them, or it will guide them to each other, stuff like that. So they're very, very in tune with nature in the forest, and they have animal companions and stuff.
Kind of sounds like what mushrooms can do in Mange.
Nah. I mean, I would visit Mange quite often. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be going there all the time. I will make the journey. It's a long way. I'm making that journey though. I'll be singing Kumbaya around those fire pits all day.
All right. Are you ready for the last question?
Oh yes, let's go.
This one also, we don't know who it came from, but they ask, which of your characters would you want to be best friends with, and why is it Lorik?
Lorik. I think Esme asked me that. I think Esme did. But I don't know. Maybe not, but I think she did. Who would I want to be best friends with? Honestly, I think Lorik would get on my nerves. I don't think he'd get on my nerves. I love Lorik because he's in a book, and I don't got to deal with him 24/7. I just got to deal with him when Nier deals with him. From all of my books, I guess maybe just Curse of the Fallen, because you guys don't know every character.
Yeah, let's stick with Curse for now.
I mean, I'd say Avalok, but that's just because I want to bang him. So, have you seen that meme where it says he's a 10, but he's literal ink on paper and doesn't exist? It kind of fractured me a bit. It hit me a little hard.
I have not seen that, no.
Thought it was really funny. It made me think of Avalok. I guess out of book 1, maybe Nier. I don't know. Nier or Lorik. I mean, just based off book 1. It would be Nier or Lorik. Based off other books, I'd probably say Avalok, but he's kind of too... Well, no, Avalok. I'm picking Avalok. There you go, Avalok. Because he gets better as the book goes on, and he kind of opens up and stuff. Because I'm thinking of him like holding the sword to Nier's throat, and he's all like dark and doesn't want to talk. But he's not like that by the end of the book, so I'd pick my love.
All right.
My one and only. But we'll say Lorik just for Esme. This was fun. That was a lot more questions than I thought we would have.
Yeah, I thought we had a pretty good turnout for questions. So
yeah, it was really great.
It is kind of bittersweet here that we're done with this book.
I know.
But we know that, yeah, we'll still talk to you here, and get to have you on from time to time. Hopefully with Malazan, just kind of depends on how much Lady Envy we see. But
Yeah.
Again, like I said before, a ton of fun doing this with you. And thank you again for taking the time to do this with us.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me on. This has been really fun. I've enjoyed it a lot. I know you guys probably don't get a whole lot of views on my stuff, especially versus like what you do. So you really haven't had to like keep having me come on. But so thank y'all for doing that for me and trying to help boost my book. And yeah, it's been fun. And I hope we can keep doing other books. Namely,
it definitely wouldn't. It would not feel the same, like after getting to have you on for this, because yeah, there's times where Justin and I have talked. And, he's like, "Well, should we?" You said we can record without you, and we pass on that idea every time just because it wouldn't be the same.
All right, so we gotta get started on book 2. Let's go.
I'm tempted. I'm tempted. I don't know if I want to multitask so much again.
It's all right.
I know.
Just go ahead and give me 5 stars on all my books on Goodreads anyway, because we're all pals now.
Can do.
If you guys are listening and you enjoyed Curse of the Fallen, and even if you didn't, go give it 5 stars on Goodreads and Amazon. I've been getting a lot of mediocre reviews lately, so it'll make me happy.
I'm going to do that right now.
Oh.
Yes, please don't forget. You don't have to leave a review, just a rating. That's all I need. It's been like steadily going down, and it's making me sad.
I shared it on Facebook. I sent you that.
Yeah, you did. Goodreads. I need my ratings to go up. They're at like 4.22 right now out of 5. It was 4.26 for a while, so it's gone down a little bit. But 4.22 is still not bad, so I'm not like upset about it. But I don't want it to keep going down, so
we'll do our part to boost it here for you.
Y'all are awesome. Everyone reading, pause the video, leave me 5 stars right now on all of my books. I'm demanding it. I'm not even no subtlety. Do it.
I just found your book.
Rate this book.
You need a review. Just
wow, you got 142 reviews.
Mm-hmm. I know it's not like a whole lot, but it's not too bad.
I mean, that sounds like a lot to me.
It's not letting me pick it.
It won't let you do a 5-star review. Even Goodreads is like, fuck this book.
See? It won't let me.
I can't.
Well, let me do it.
Are you logged in?
No.
Oh, well, that's why.
I don't want more people to.
Fine. It's all right.
Steal my.
Just tell everybody on Twitter or something. That is awesome. Sneak it into your Malazan.
Oh, I must have created an account at one time. Gotcha. On it. Yeah. 5 stars, mother trucker.
Hey, you better not go and change that either. He's going to change it to a 1 star.
I'm not going to change nothing. If you want, I can write a review. Be like, hey, we made a podcast with the author. You should check it out.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Just promote yourself.
Oh, I didn't see this earlier, but Ben on Twitter said he didn't have any questions, but he wanted to reiterate his undying love for both the book and Nier. Congrats, my friends, on reaching the end of your journey with the book.
Benny! Benny's got a mug. A Fallen Light mug. I think it's got the Brotherhood sigil on it.
Nice.
I love Benny. Those are some nice words. All right, Benny. You gotta go read book 2 now. I'm talking directly to you.
Benny, if you can hear this, read the second book.
Blink once if you're in danger, Benny.
Are you playing with your gray hair?
Yes, I can't let it go. I'm gonna name it Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Look at it, it's so gray. You can see it a lot better now.
Well,
all right.
I don't even know where we go from here.
I'm just flossing my teeth with my gray hair.
And on that note.
Oh my god, I can actually floss my teeth with my hair. Ew.
Hey, in a pinch, I guess. You do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I gotta get my kiddos to bed. So
all right,
not to rip the Band-Aid off, but to rip the Band-Aid off.
I know, I'm sad. Well, I'll see y'all again. We'll do this again. Don't worry.
Yeah, it'll happen.
We will.
I'll be back. Don't worry.
Veda will be back.
There's no choice. You all must love me.
Worship me, you puny humans.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys liked the book. Thanks for the 5 stars.
It was an incredible journey, and I appreciate you joining us along. are joining alongside.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well,
Absolutely.
good night and farewell, my fellow compadres.
Maybe when we do decide to meet up or to come down to Silverstones, we can meet
Yeah.
up, go have lunch or
Cool.
something.
I'm gonna have to put my book. I'm gonna have to bring books for him to sell or something.
There you go. There you go. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess farewell for now.
Goodbye. So long.
TTFN.
Bye,
Goodbye.
y'all.
See you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
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 DMJ's Epic Quest. DMJ's Epic Quest. DMJ's CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest.